I remember when I first joined the John Maxwell team and I heard him say, it's not just what you learn, but also who you learn it from. It's not just what you learn, it's also who you learn it from. And today I want to talk about the propagandists disguised as entertainers, the propagandists disguised as media, the propagandists disguised as genuine journalists. Because it's not just what you learn as a leader, it's who you learn it from. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And one of the things that I know to be a fact is that there are a lot of people out there who have great ambition to influence the way leaders think. It doesn't take much to see that there's advertising on just about every corner. Billboards, bus sides, car toppers, your pizza box. So now sometimes comes with advertising on it. And sometimes it's not advertising for the pizza, for the next pizza, for a coupon for the next pizza. No, maybe it's for a soft drink or something else. But now we see that from everything from major sports events to the daily mailbox fodder, there's messages about what's going on in our world. Some about politics, some about election cycles, some about the financial aspect of taxes or, I don't know, the checks that are coming in the mail. The list goes on and on about the ways that people look to influence your buying decisions, your choices in your life. Now, it would be one thing if every one of those choices was a genuine choice. We've talked before on this program about the idea that as a leader, I have the ability to put before you maybe 2 of the 10 possible options, leaving you the feeling that you have all kinds of choices. You could pick from any of these 2, or maybe if I'm really generous, you could pick from any of these 5. The other 5 options are simply ignored or they're not presented. So you really only get to pick from 5 of the 10 options, but you have all the choice in the world to pick from those 5 options. But when you're raising kids, by the way, it's a really good idea to help them in directing the choices that they make by limiting the options that they have. Why? Well, because any good parent, like any good sales company knows, if you go to a website, there's too many options, you make no decision. If you take somebody to a buffet and ask them, what do you want to eat? Odds are they're going to leave stuffed because they've tried everything on the buffet, or they're going to zoom in on only one thing and only eat that and leave every other option out. But when it comes to making choices, the limitation of options, whether they're genuinely limited or it's a false scarcity, will help someone decide what to choose. Propaganda works really well in that arena. Propaganda is that overly aggressive salesperson who knows that there's a bonus if they sell that one ugly car over there. I think back to the very first Transformers movie when the yellow Camaro came into the concept, into purview to begin with. And it kind of positioned itself to make sure that happened, and it knocked the Beetle over. But it was about price, and there were all kinds of arguments. And then when the ugly old car, became the interest of the kid, all of a sudden it now had racing stripes. And the racing stripes made the $5,000 price or the $4,500 price go up because it had racing stripes. And that's the kind of propaganda that I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The idea that I can throw a little something in there to make you feel like what you're getting is a special choice or a special option, even though it's the last resort. It's the last thing that you really, really want or need. But I'm going to get more out of providing it to you, giving it to you, convincing you to go that way, convincing you to make that decision pays off more for me. So I'll find every incentive that I can to get you to make that decision. Now, it doesn't take long in today's world to look across the smorgasbord, if you will, from song lyrics to a spoken word to television ads by major corporate sponsors to political rhetoric by pundits, some in office, some trying to get in office, to the actual news stories that surround the events of our day. And if you can't hear the common themes, the actual recoded phrases again and again and again, some of the catchphrases, some of the buzzwords that have been plucked out of these songs and spoken word and television ads and radio ads and political pundits are exactly the same words and phraseology all the way across the board. If that doesn't strike you as propaganda, that these words are being planted in your mind so that you will resonate with them because you've heard them before. You didn't just hear them in the song by Jay-Z. You didn't just hear them on the Lincoln Continental commercial ad by Matthew McConaughey. You didn't just hear them when the political pundit said them on the news story. You didn't just hear them when the person running for office quoted them. You've heard them everywhere, and now they're being repeated by your friends. See that level of comfort with these words, with these ideas, with these buzzwords. That level of comfort is a manipulation. It's designed to get inside your belief system. It's designed to bypass subconsciously your ability or your willingness even to think about what those words genuinely mean. If you looked up the meaning of those words, what do they tell you? If you looked up the origin of those words, where were they first used? Who used them? What did they mean back then? Universal basic income. What did it mean then? What about gentrification? Is gentrification only something that happens between urban communities and rural communities, or is gentrification something used in the form of migration, where people move from one place to another place to change the demographic and the voting pattern and the income standards and the life standards of a community to bring it up or bring it down? And does that work? And if it works, who wins? See, these are all parts of the process. Some of the propagandists have been really, really good at over the last 40 or 50 years. And Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, all of the major marketing and advertising people are taking a play right out of the CIA book, using the language to manipulate the masses who simply aren't going to do the homework to say, why are you saying that? What does that really mean? But as leaders, you're responsible to do that homework. You should be well read. For you as a leader to not take the initiative, to do the homework, to look up the words, to ask the questions, is a failure in your role as a leader. You should be the leading person, leader. You should be the leading person, the first person to ask the question, what do you mean by that? Where are you really going with that? Not just what is the immediate impact of that, but what's the end game? Why are you going down that path? Where will those words, those actions, those behaviors, and those choices take us from here? If leaders are not willing to do that work, there will be a lot of damage done across the board to societies, cultures, opportunities, whether it be employment or ownership, whether it be the right to decide for yourself how you're going to raise your family, what kind of things will be said in your home, or what will no longer be illegal to be said in your home. Yeah, there are places where calling your wife, or your husband, or your children, son or daughter, or for your children to say mom or dad can get them expelled from school, and after enough coercion from the school, get them removed from your home. I'm not playing. Look it up. And we can change shoplifting from shoplifting, a misdemeanor crime, to petty theft. And all we've got to do is use penal code, is at 459.5 in California, that says any petty theft under $950 is petty theft. It may not even stay on your record for very long. You could do some time in jail, but considering the overcrowding, you probably won't. You might not even get arrested for it. In fact, given the scale of all the other crimes, it's a petty theft. The cops probably won't even come. When we start changing those parameters and changing those definitions and changing those words, we're leading society to behave in a different way. That's the same kind of propaganda that we used in the late 1930s by Stalin, by Hitler, by Mao, by the list goes on. The concepts that propaganda has brought to us through the posers who are posing as artists, who are posing as painters and graphic designers and advertising moguls and companies buying advertising and news journalists. That kind of propaganda, in my opinion, is dangerous. And I think if you look into it far enough, you'll find the same to be true. Leaders, if you're out there leading an organization, again, I don't care if that's a family, that's a community, that's a state, or it's the country. If you are influencing the way people think, if you're having conversations with them, you are responsible to know that you've done the homework to get behind the words that are being used, the meaning of them, and where they're going to take us from here. And if you don't do that, I believe you failed in your leadership. But that's just me, because I do look into those words and those phrases and their origins, and I ask the question, where's that going to take us if we follow that path from here? I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.